figure out what the flip it is, I guess you might as well figure it out with me. What is socialism? Any of the various, what the fuck is that word? Egalitarian economic and political theories of or movements advocating collective or governmental ownership and administrations of means of production and distribution of goods. If modern socialism was born in 19th century Europe, it was subsequently shaped by and adapted to a whole range of societies. Michael Newman's socialism is about a change in the means of production so that the people who do the work are the ones who make the decisions about what gets produced and how. So how the fuck is socialism bad? Either way, a system of society or group living in which there is no private property. Yeah, I'm still not seeing the bad side. A system or condition of society in which the means of production are owned and controlled by the state. I'm starting to see the bad side. Many socialists today believe that socialism is not inevitable, but must be built slowly and laboriously by the political and economic actions of men and women seeking a freer, and more just society. 3. A stage of society in Marxist theory that is transitional between capitalism and communism. What's communism? I guess we're going to be Googling for a minute. Well, duck going. And is distinguished by unequal distribution of goods and pay according to work done. Marx, we know, provided both a theory of society in which there would be a movement from feudalism through capitalism to socialism, and an analysis of the nature of class exploration under capitalism, and a sketch of the large principles of a socialist society. Lenin would advance these ideas further. Oh my god. Let's go back to fascism. A system of government marked by centralized of authority under a dictator, a capitalist economy subject to stringent government controls, violent suppression of the opposition, goofball, and typically a policy of belligerent nationalism and racism. A political philosophy or movement based on or advocating such a system of government. Oppressive dictatorial control. And communism. Let's figure out what the fuck that is. I don't know how to spell. Here we go. Thank you for knowing what I was going for. Communism is a left-wing, I don't know what the fuck left-wing shit is. Left-wing to far-left social, political, philosophical, and economic ideology with the socialist movement whose goal is the creation of a communist society. What the fuck is communist? A socio-economic order centered around common ownership of the means of production. Well, let me keep reading more. Distribution exchange that allocates products to everyone in the society based on... Okay, what the fuck's the problem? Allocates products to everyone in society based on need. A communist society would entail the absence of private property and social classes, and ultimately money and the state or nation state. What's the problem? I'm confused. Communists often seek a voluntary state of self-governance, but disagree on the means to this end. There's the problem. This reflects a distinction between a more liberation socialist approach of communization, revolutionary spontaneity, and workers' self-management, and a more authoritarian, vanguardist or communist party-driven approach through the development of a socialist state, followed by the withering away of the state. As one of the main ideologies on the political spectrum, what the fuck's a political spectrum? Communism is placed on the left wing alongside socialism. I don't think we looked up socialism yet. And communist parties and movements have been described as radical left or far left. Variants of communism have been developed throughout history, including Antichrist. What the fuck? Anarchist communism, goofy, Marxist schools of thought, and religious communism. Among others, communism encompasses a variety of schools of thought, which broadly include Marxism, Leninism, and liberation. Communism, as well as the political ideologies grouped around those. All of these different ideologies generally share the analysis that the current order of society stems from capitalism, its economic system and mode of production, that in this system there are two major social classes, that the relationship between these two classes is exploitative and that this situation can only ultimately be resolved through a social revolution. The two classes are the proletarian, who make up the majority of the population, which society and must sell their labor power to survive, and the bourgeois, I have no idea what the fuck I'm saying, a small minority that derives profit from employing the working class through private ownership of the means of production. According to the analysts, a communist revolution would put the working class in power. So what's wrong with that? In turn, establish common ownership of property, the primary element in the transformation of society towards a communist mode of production. Communism is its modern form, grew out of the socialist movement. We still need to figure out what the fuck socialism is. Either way, I'm getting sick of reading this, and I think I get what communism is, and I don't. I kind of get why it's too bad, because there's no line of, it's essentially intelligence when you know how to do a lot of things, but where do you draw the line for the sake of science to learn the experiments, which is why it's fine if you experiment on monkeys and giraffes and this and like that, but once you start experimenting in humans, that's where we draw the line. But I've always been told every single life is precious, but when it's not a human life, it's not precious. But when it's not a rich human's life, it's definitely not precious. When it's a poor human, it's not precious. When it's a drugged out human, it's not precious. But when it comes to experimenting things to try to figure out if it's safe for humans, we just use animals. But at the same time, we'll still destroy humans over some animals. I'm just confused. Is all lives precious, or is it just all dependent on who you are, what you are, and who is judging you? So it's just, I always get confused. Excuse me. Again, excuse me, socialism is an economic and political philosophy. What the fuck? Why am I so gassy? Encompassing diverse economic and social systems characterized by social ownership of the means of production. A lot of this shit's about business, of course. As opposed to private ownership, it describes the economic, political, and social theories and movements associated with the implementation of such systems. Social ownership can take various forms, including public, community, collective, corporative, or employee. I still don't get what socialism is, though. Traditional socialism is one of the left wing or the political spectrum. I need to figure out what political spectrum is as well. Types of socialism vary based on the role, markets, and planning in resource allocation and the structure of management in organizations. It's like there's not one size fits all for fucking anything. But we'll not talk about that currently. Socialist systems divide into non-market and market forms. A non-market socialist system seeks to eliminate the perceived